you thought the line was dead, think again. We're talking about Black Phone 2, the highly anticipated sequel to one of the most unsettling horror films of the last decade. The first Black Phone worked because it didn't rely on jump scares alone. It weaponized atmosphere, trauma, and something that horror has always done best. It turned childhood fear into something monstrous. And Black Phone 2 doubles down on that idea. As an editor, I have to mention the visual technique that was used during the dream sequence. The deteriorating film effect, the scratching noise, and the change in sound was so effective for me, and I absolutely loved it. It was such a brilliant visual way to set apart the dream sequences from the reality, or at least what they thought was reality. Now let's get the obvious comparison out of the way. I'm a huge Freddy Krueger fan. I have been since I was barely old enough to even see the first one, but it's impossible to talk about Black Phone 2 without mentioning A Nightmare on Elm Street. Both films feature a supernatural predator targeting children. Both use a villain who lingers, not rushing to kill, but savoring fear. And both rely on a simple concept that becomes terrifying throughout execution. Freddy Krueger invaded dreams. The Grabber utilizes dreams and invades silence. Where Freddy Krueger was loud and charismatic and theatrical, the Grabber is quiet and masked and disturbingly intimate. He doesn't taunt with jokes. He waits. And that restraint is what makes Black Phone 2 feel like a modern evolution of the Elm Street formula, rather than a copy. Director Scott Derrickson returns, and his fingerprints are all over this sequel. So Derrickson's techniques leans heavily on long, patient shots, negative space, sound design that feels alive. He lets scenes breathe until they suffocate you. In Black Phone 2, he continues blending grounded realism with supernatural horror. The world feels real, almost too real, which makes the paranormal elements hit harder. This isn't glossy studio horror, it's cold basements, it's dim hallways, and trauma that doesn't fade when the credits roll. At the center of this franchise is Ethan Hawke, whose portrayal of the Grabber is already iconic. What makes Hawke's performance so effective isn't how much he does, but how little. His stillness, his voice, the mask that suggests fractured identities. In Black Phone 2, the character's presence expands in ways that feel unsettling rather than gimmicky. And Mason Thames returns as Finney, grounding the story emotionally. His performance reminds us that this franchise isn't just about surviving a monster, it's about living with what the monster took from you. And don't forget Madeline McGraw, who plays Gwen. She brings emotional depth, sharp instincts to her role, reminding audience that Black Phone isn't just about the monster, it's about the kids caught in his silence. Her character work adds texture to the narrative and gives the audience a character they can root for just beyond the fear. Black Phone 2 lands right in the sweet spot of today's horror landscape. Modern horror has shifted. There's less gore for gore's sake. Now, granted, this has a little bit of gore, but it's controlled. There's more psychological weight now. There's more trauma-based storytelling. Think Hereditary, It Follows, The Babadook. This sequel continues that trend. It's not trying to be the loudest movie in the room. It's trying to crawl under your skin and stay there. Black Phone 2 proves that horror doesn't need to reinvent itself. It remembers what fear actually feels like. It honors classics like Nightmare on Elm Street while standing firmly in the presence. It's patient, it's cruel, and it understands that sometimes the scariest thing isn't the monster. It's the phone ringing. Again. I'm Sean Coyne, and this is Scaredy Chats. Face your fears.